It happened in the last December wind, with the windows rattling and the holiday lights on Via Flaminia blurred by a thick Roman fog. I stood beside the printer at the end of the corridor, arms aching with stacked boxes of old files, while Alfredo, the boss, hammered away at my supposed failures in front of the entire office. Even the intern typing out call notes next to the glass wall leaned closer to catch every stinging word. Jacopo, per el ama di Dio you call this visualization, where is the story? Where is the beauty? Alfredo waved my scatterplot like a limp rag. You spent 5 days and it's this, a cluster of colored dots. Who will even look at it? People hovered by, pretending to scurry with their lattes or check the calendar on the wall, but their eyes lingered. Alfredo forced the print into my chest, shaking his head theatrically. You're not an artist, Jacopo, do you know that? You work with numbers, not paint. Data is precise. Leave the artistry for someone who knows. Fix it and don't make me ask again. My face burned. I almost dropped the printout, my fingers sweating despite the cold draft slithering across the tile. Yes, Alfredo. I'll fix it, I mumbled, my breath fogging at the slit beneath the office window. There were days when humiliation stuck to your ribs for months. Today, it pressed in with the pressure of 100 eyes, from the receptionist to the facilities man folding small recycling bags. Alfredo retreated with a last wave of his hand, the Prosecco in his mug shaking. The moment the door closed, the laughter fluttered out, soft, like the wings of pigeons nesting in the eaves of old Roman buildings. It was always like this. At Statistica S.p.A. my title was junior analyst, but my real job was to squeeze numbers into whatever format Alfredo demanded, regardless of logic or beauty. I clung to my secret, not quite a dream, more a stubborn vision, that data in the right hands could be evocative, even beautiful. After work, I walked home through the misty city. The Fontana dell'Acqua Paola looked like a pale ghost under the lamps, water ribbons sliding over stone. I shut my coat tighter, replaying Alfredo's words. His disdain matched the chorus of what I'd grown up hearing, especially from my family. You want to be what, Jacopo, a data artist? Marseille Matto nonsense. Numbers don't sing, they tally. People need jobs, not dreams. Back then, I drew shapes with code and color, copying city rainfall patterns over the Tiber, sketching maps of ancient aqueducts out of climate data. My uncle Massimo laughed hardest. Paintings and numbers, choose one. You think you'll feed a family with screen squiggles? He offered his chainsaw business as safe haven, plenty of wood to saw, eh? Rome never runs out of trees that need trimming. I'd smile, mouth shut, shame hot inside. Now, standing in that Milanese-styled corridor, one miserable echo in a worn-out company, I wondered if they'd all been right. Still, I stayed late, as I had most nights. After Alfredo's scolding, I poured my anger into my screen, softening my lines, rerouting colors, letting the clusters unfold into something that felt less like dots and more like rivers. I added textures, made the data breathe, twist, expand. I stayed long after the janitor passed, humming his Romanesco tunes until the streetlights below were nearly out. At home, my grandmother Lucia watched me with pity as I hunched over my laptop past midnight again. Working late, ma Jacopo va bene, but you need to sleep. I never told her I wasn't working on an office project, but on something else. A piece for submission, if I dared, at the European Forum of Data Arts. I checked the rules each night, anonymous entries, digital submissions, a theme of urban pulse. It sounded like the thump of my own heart. When I sent it off, my hands shook enough to almost spill my coffee. The confirmation email felt like nothing, a formality. Days passed, then weeks, suffused with Alfredo's barbs and new office tasks. I turned 29, celebrated with my mother and Lucia in the old apartment near Piazza Navona. The cake was soft and yellow, the wine sweet, but even their laughter felt sharpened by worry. Are you happy, Figlio? My mother asked as we tidied up. I'm trying, I said. In March, I received the email, congratulations, your work Rivers in Data has been shortlisted for the final exhibition. Please confirm your attendance for the awards evening in Berlin. I read the words 3 times, then I texted Matteo, the only friend from university who almost understood. He called me breathless. Jacopo, you have to go, don't tell anyone, make it big and walk in storming, show them. His joy felt bigger than mine. At work I said nothing. I used vacation days built up out of fear and indecision. My grandmother believed I was on a corporate retreat. I packed my father's old blue scarf and the cheapest shoes that didn't leak and left for Berlin. The forum was in a glass box of a building, all sharp lines and suspended light. I arrived 2 hours early. Keyboard hands trembling, I walked through the exhibition searching for my piece. There it was, on the third screen, the data river flows I'd shaped, the Roman water patterns bending across the city's map. A neon blue line breathed across the ancient districts, blooming into silver at floodplains and streaking bright golden along the Tiber's age-old walls. People paused, reading my artist's note. A woman in a thick grey coat touched the screen, whispering something in German. I waited, pretending to look at the other works, but always my eyes snapped back. The smell was of polished steel and strong coffee. I felt small and vast at once. I didn't win the grand prize, but when they handed out 3 Excellence in Visual Storytelling awards, my name was called first. They presented a certificate, a small grant, and more overwhelming, an offer from a tech arts foundation in Paris. They'd seen my approach and wanted to fund a residency. No one laughed, no one said, improve the axes or stick with numbers. They clapped, they asked serious questions. For the first time I answered and did not apologize for my vision. Everything changed quietly, all in under half an hour. I accepted the residency. I told my family I'd be gone for 6 months for a job. Lucia cried, proud and terrified at once. Don't forget Rome, Jacopo, she warned. In Paris, I worked surrounded by strange voices, a new rhythm. My grant check cleared. My first exhibition in Le Marais drew a crowd, art students, tech workers, a few actual critics. Someone called my work lyrical. The city maps grew larger, more ambitious. I slept little, amazed and still not quite believing. I sent small packages home, French biscuits, postcards with my new address. I wanted my family to see it, but they remained skeptical. My uncle Massimo replied only with jokes. When will you paint my chainsaw with your fancy numbers, Jacopo? I filed the clippings. Italian journals named me among emergenti data artistici. Invitations trickled in, a workshop in Milan, a feature in a tech magazine, then finally, a call from the Galleria Nazionale d'Arte Moderna in Rome. They wanted my installation for the spring showcase, Città Immaginate. It would be a centerpiece, they said, no pay but great exposure. That's when I bought my train ticket home. The return was a jumble, streetcars crammed with snoring students, Rome's sweet, cloying spring air, the grey splash of rain on Piazza del Popolo. My grandmother met me at Termini, her hands tight around my wrist so she would not lose me in the rush. You smell of bread and coffee, she said, weeping. At home, the family gathered, my mother, Lucia, Uncle Massimo, a smattering of cousins. There was skepticism in every smile, that hesitation before asking. Are you staying? Is it a real job? Can you pay the rent? At dinner, over fried artichokes and thin-crust pizza, the talk twisted back to work. Massimo raised his glass. To Jacopo, finally home. Now consulting for a bank, or was it a hotel in France? Something like that, I said, smiling. Maybe you can look at my finances, show me a graph for how much I might lose this year in taxes. The table laughed. I felt the old shame prickling under my skin. Did they not know? Had they not seen the articles, the exhibition ads? But I didn't say a word. I let them talk, quietly eating, my mind already at the Galleria. On the afternoon of the show, with Rome pulsing under a fierce March sun, I walked alone through the Sacchetti gates. The Galleria was buzzing. The walls, once intimidating in their marble grandeur, felt like home. Staff showed me to the installation room. My piece, a 12-panel backlit wall, dominated one side, Tiber mosaic, a data sculpture mapping 3 centuries of river floods through shifting color and light. The sensors responded to movement. As people approached, colors intensified, the water data swelling into golds and blues, the heartbeat of the city echoing in numbers. I tucked my invitation into my coat pocket. I'd left tickets for my mother, Lucia, Massimo, their names at the desk. People wandered in, press, tourists, students, a few retired professors with hair like white thistles. I stood to one side. I kept scanning the arrivals, my heart thumping so hard it hurt. My mother came, Lucia on her arm, both wearing their Sunday best. My mother nodded toward my piece, pride overflowing in her tight-lipped smile. Lucia shuffled forward with her cane, eyes wide. It's like the river is singing, she whispered. Then Massimo barreled in, his laughter echoing off the marble. Where is my nephew's masterpiece, Which is the one with the most numbers? I waved him over. He stopped, peering at the glowing map, forehead wrinkled. This, you did this. I nodded. Other people crowded around, watching the colors bloom as they neared. News cameras flashed. A pair of curators ushered a local councilman to stand in front of my wall, explaining its significance, how the city's flood history had never been seen like this before. My name, in clean type, ran across the base. Jacopo Marinelli, data artist. I watched Massimo as he read. My uncle's squint deepened and his jaw moved like he was chewing over the words. There was something, was it awe, settling behind his usual stubborn pride. He poked at the display, too shy to reach farther but not stepping away. Is it really all numbers? All numbers, I said, and all Rome, its rhythms, its pain and beauty. He turned to my mother. See, I always told you the boy would do something big with his head for math, he blurted, then blushed as he caught my eye. Lucia pressed my arm, beaming. You made numbers sing, Jacopo. I watched as the first wave of skepticism faded. Not vanished, my family would always doubt just a little, but stunned into a quiet respect. Around us, critics scribbled notes, a journalist whispered for a quote, and strangers asked about the technique, the vision. I could see people move, step back, approach again, as if unsure whether to believe what they saw. Massimo lingered longest, standing apart after the others had drifted into the next room. He finally spoke, low. Maybe next time you show me how you do it, eh? Chainsaws and all. I smiled. You bring the trees, Zio, I'll bring the data. All those years of shame, of being the soft one, the dreamer, fell off in the glare of the lights and the murmurs of finally awed neighbors. My mother squeezed my shoulder. Lucia dabbed her eyes. The evening wound down. I moved among the crowd, answering questions, signing a few gallery programs, feeling the city's pulse in every congratulatory handshake. My family stayed until the doors shuttered, Lucia refusing to leave until the last possible moment. On the walk home, spring winds curled through the sycamores. My mother asked if I would ever return for good, now that Paris had offered me another commission. I looked up at the city, the gold haze of dusk on the river. Maybe, but I needed to come home like this. She nodded, pride and relief warring in her thin smile. That night after the family left, I went for one last walk down to the Tiber's edge. The water was low, moonlight spattered on stone. I pressed my hand to the cool balustrade and listened, the city's sounds folding around me, horns and bells, river thrumming. It was there, finally, that I let myself feel the old sting dissolve, not erased but replaced. I had come back with something real, something seen, and for the first time in Rome, I was not ashamed to call myself an artist.